All right, Amber Powers, there she is. Come on, Amber Powers. Come on up here. Amber says she's going to vomit all over the place, so now that you know that. So, all right, you guys good? All right, so this is just very informal, so we're going to ask, you guys can ask questions if you want to and so on and so forth. But the way it kind of works is this. We're going to show you some pictures. And if you have questions, just raise your hand during it, and we'll love to answer the questions. So we had a great experience. How many days was it again? 12. 12. Okay. 12. There you go. Wow, first time. Good. All right. What's your question, buddy? Oh no. Thank you for the food. You're welcome. Yes, thank you everybody for bringing the food. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, let's go and get started. So we arrived a couple days after Christmas in Myanmar after, I think it was, how many hours of flight, Rachel?
I think 35, 36 total hours of travel.
Yes, and it was not very...
14 and a half hours.
Yeah. That is actually the worst part of the trip, but it's fine. So we came in, and you saw some of the videos coming on in, but the very first thing that they do is, for the new people, like Amber, they take you on a orphanage tour, and they take you to the loom house. So Amber wanted to share some stuff about the loom house. So click through some of those pictures while she talks.
I guess please bear with me because I have no clue what to say. The loom house, everybody knows, well, not everybody. Some of you are newer to the church, and I don't know if you've experienced. We sell some of the items here for the Myanmar from the Uncharted, and they come from the loom house, and that's what they're making here. They make blankets, really soft blankets, clothing, purses, all sorts of things which come from here where they quilt in this area. And I thought it was really a unique situation to actually see them putting their heart and soul in it, and the work that they have to do. It takes a lot of work to move some of these things, and they're made out of wood, which are things that we just don't see on an everyday basis. I don't know, I think there's another picture. I was pretty amazed by just watching these young women do this all by hand.
Anything to add with your loom house?
Well, I was going to say that Bruce has a question, but that's a good question.
I think they told me like a king-size blanket takes a week.
Yeah, it takes
a week.
They actually thread each into almost like weaving. They weave each individual
go
thing
back one.
through, back and forth, and then they have to switch this, do something with their foot and switch over the thing, and they need someone else to help the end to move it. I mean, it's all this different as they're weaving each one. So it takes a long time, I know. They're beautiful. They're really soft blankets.
They really are.
Yes, they are very, very warm. They are extremely warm. One of the warmest blankets that I've ever had. The cool thing is, if you go to Uncharted International, they have new product in that we just carried all the way from Myanmar over to here. So brand new product in. And the cool thing is, I think 95% of all the profit from this goes immediately back to the girls. So it pays them their salaries and housing and so forth.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think there are 8 girls who work there. They grew up in the orphanage and now work in the loom house. And the whole idea behind that whole thing is that this gives them a job so that they're not out on the streets once they age out of the orphanage. And, you know, if they were out on the streets, they'd be susceptible to human trafficking and those types of things. So this gives them a job. It gives them a place to live. And so I think they earn $1 a day doing that. So us putting out $65 for a blanket, I mean, $1 a day, that kind of puts into perspective how significant that is. It's not a lot to us, but to them it's huge.
Absolutely. All right. So what? Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For the most part. One of the churches.
Well, I think they actually make $1 a day, but their housing is included. That's where the extra money goes. Their housing, their food is included, and they get a salary of $1. So it's basically a dollar to go into their bank account, but they get free housing, free food, and stuff like that. So it kind of all works out.
Previous picture, I saw a bicycle.
Oh, yep. Go to the next slide. Whatever.
Yeah,
That's where they spend the yeah.
part.
It looks like it. Yeah.
Yes.
That's yeah. Correct. All right. Well, let's go to the next one real quick. What's the next topic? What's the next? Crafts. All right. So we got assigned. It's like a vacation Bible school thing, and Rachel and Amber were in charge of crafts for the entire week for 500 kids. So you guys going to share while we go through the pictures about those. Picture one. Oops.
Okay. Here is pictures of us doing crafts for the children. We had to come up and plan things ahead of time, and that was quite unique, trying to figure out about how many kids we were going to have.
Go to the next slide.
What kind of things that we were going to do with them. And some of them are repeat kids, because the bigger orphanage will have the smaller orphanages come, and we made it to several different orphanages. So you're trying to make sure that we're not getting the duplicate kids doing the same project. And it's a lot of go on the fly. Because you don't know how the kids are going to act, or whether, it's going to work out well, or your time period. So it was a great experience. They all were so eager to give everything that they made for themselves, because you wanted them to make something for them to hang up on their wall or put somewhere. But they wanted to make it and give it to you. They'll write your names. They're looking at your name tags. They want to write your names on them and tell them, they want to tell you how much they love you. And it was really, exuberating to see that. These kids just loved you instantly. They didn't know you, nothing about you, and they just fell in love just like seeing you instantly, almost like when you have your first child, I guess. So it was really exciting.
This picture is at the Harmon Orphanage, and not all of the orphanages are set up to accommodate everything that we have to do. So we were doing crafts in the boys' dorm, and if you look way up on the ceiling, like above the bunk beds, those cloths that are hanging from the rafters, their stuff is up there. Their clothes, their personal belongings. So as a mom, my immediate reaction was, I don't even want to know how that stuff gets up there. But I found out because one of the little boys came in and climbed up on the top bunk and climbed up there to get something out of there. So I don't know, you can't tell, but there are no mattresses on the bunks. I think we may have mentioned that last year, because that was one of the things. It's just wood. They may have a really thin mat sometimes, but there are so many factors. They could get bed bugs. It's a humid tropical climate, so the mattresses can mildew and things like that. So they just sleep on those mats, and sometimes just bare wood.
And don't forget, they have the netting. They have mosquito nets to go over them each child at night. Besides that,
the mosquitoes weren't that bad this year.
The mosquitoes were horrible.
Not bad this year compared to last.
Back.
Do you want to see my legs? I had on my eyeballs, out of my face.
And we forgot to take the malaria medicine. So.
Well, we didn't forget to.
So if we, in 2 weeks from now, when it's real, if we have malaria, that's right. Us three, yeah. All right. All right, is that the last picture there? All right, next topic. All right, my job was I was tasked to literally take the entire church planters through a week-long training on church planting. So here are some of the pictures. They're sitting down, coming up with there's Chinpu. You see Chinpu? You recognize Chinpu? All right, Chinpu, we actually sponsor him. We give $150 a month to provide for his lodging and so on and so forth. You'll see a picture of that later on. So I had an interpreter. We all had an interpreter, but Ruth was our interpreter. She was amazing. She was one of the orphanage leaders. And they're just sitting there on these hard chairs. They were like sponges. They're fantastic. Go to the next one. Let's see what the next one. Yep. Some of them. This year we brought the wives and the husbands together so that they can learn together. Because sometimes, even here in America, the pastors go do their thing, and their wives are left behind. So we didn't want to do that to them. All right. Let's see what's next. Oh, Ethan. Yes, sir. You hopefully will go to Myanmar in a year and a half, so we'll see. Yeah, we were able to pass out about 32,000 Burmese tracts. 32,000 Burmese tracts. So all these tracts and Catalyst Church, that's where your money goes. Your money goes to pay for these tracts, and they're actually going to go out and, Lord willing, get into 32,000 Burmese hands along the way. And yes, sir. No, actually, and here's an interesting story. We had it scheduled to plan to go into the villages to do this, but literally the week before, into one of the villages that we're planning to go into, a Korean mission group came from Korea to Myanmar, and they went in and actually they did the wrong type of evangelism. Very forceful, very rude, which resulted in the doors being shut for about a good 6 months for anybody to go in there with true evangelism. So that kind of shut the door for us. So we were 1 week away from doing it right, and then this ended up happening. So was that? They're being very forceful, kind of like Jehovah's Witness in the United States. Over there, it's all about relationship building. So we were going to go in under the umbrella of one of the church planners that already had built all the relationships, and so on and so forth. They came in into the village, not knowing anybody, and just did it the wrong way.
And the way that their social structure is set up, they're in little villages, and there are leaders for each village, and they pretty much determine what goes on. So even when we go to some of the orphanages, we have to be really quiet. We can't be very American and all of those things, rambunctious and loud, because they don't like it and they'll kick us out. And that could affect the orphanage. They could be shut down. So it's kind of the same situation with this. The village leaders decided that they don't want any of that. They're probably very strict Buddhists. So that closed the door.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, even though the country is supposed to be free of religion, the individual villages is where we actually have to be worried about spreading. Maddie. Yes. Maddie. Yes, yes. We'll get back to you in a second, Ethan. So we pass out the tracts. Go to the next one. All right, what we ended up doing is we partnered with Westwood Baptist Church up the road here, and we ended up getting every single church planter a 2-set commentary on the New Testament, a book on how to do evangelism, a systematic theology book, and another book called 9 Marks of a Healthy Church. They don't have resources. So really, the Bible that they use right now, the church planters, have you ever heard of Adnan Judson? He was the very first missionary to Myanmar. He went in there, spent his entire life translating the Bible. They still use, and I think it's from the 1700s. So they're using a Bible right now that has been translated in the 1700s, and that's what they're currently still using, because the new translations aren't, I mean, they have like one other translation, but it's very out of context. So we went and we purchased, this is another thing that your guys' money, our money went to, our tithes and offerings went to buying these books, so that they could have more resources so that they can grow in their relationship and leadership. So here's some pictures of their excitement. Let's go next. Keep on going next. Let's see. So they're holding up a couple books. Let's go to the next one. They're very excited. Yeah, that's their excited face. Okay. All right. And there's Chinpu and their family. Actually, we get to meet Chinpu's wife. What's her name? Yeah, daughter's not there. She's out probably getting fruit right now. But yeah, so we get to hang out with them and pray for them. They've got some major marital issues that they're going through right now. So pray for them. The son, oh my Lord, his son is just crazy. All right, Amber and her kids.
No, these are my Myanmar kids. There's quite a few. I gained a few at a different orphanages. I think 5 total. That's Alex, actually. He's one of the other team members that went with us.
That's the most animated I saw him.
I know, he was sick the whole trip.
So who are these 2 girls?
On the right, that is Ta'ipa, and on the left is Sha'i. And they are from Loving Children's Home, and they were with me the entire time that I was there. They pampered me from head to toe. You could never do nothing for them. They were always doing for me. They braided my hair every day. They painted my nails, my toes. They gave me massages when we were sitting still, trying to even go.
Yeah, you need to go on a mission trip for a good massage, trust me.
Yes, I mean, they were like all in with your elbows and doing the chop thing.
So as soon as you got off the bus, they grabbed you, right?
They did, yes. As soon as you could see them as you're pulling in to the orphanage in this big bus on this little dirt road. You don't even know how you fit there, and you're honking the horn at everybody to get out of the way. But the kids were like, hundreds of kids. They're just gathered everywhere, and they're just like looking in the windows, trying to scope out who they wanted. They already were looking for something special. And as soon as you got off, they just like mauled you instantly. I mean, they were holding on to your legs, your arms, and you're trying to walk out of the bus so everybody else could come out. And they're just dragging you everywhere. They're taking your bags and your cameras and everything and holding.
And they'll protect your bags and your cameras and stuff like that.
Yeah, they wouldn't let anybody else touch them. They were like, no.
All right, what's the next one? Good. Oh, there you go.
There's some more. The same 2, and then that's Lam Pa. And he actually, which my husband doesn't know yet, we sponsor him now.
Surprise, Steve.
He's from Loving Children Home too, and yes, he was great. And I don't know, just something about him. He sort of reminded me of Noah. He was so full of energy and life, and he just and he was the only boy that like stuck to me like glue with all these other girls, and they're like telling him no, she's mine, no, and he's like yes, and they're like but not in those languages, obviously.
Yes.
They were like ooh. But it was just like they fought over you, like there wasn't enough of you to go around, which there isn't. There's so many kids, and there's only one of you, and you're trying to love on as many as possible.
Yeah, they're just amazing. They hang out with you the entire, and that actually kind of leads. Is there another picture for Amber?
Before we go on, in the background is the new chapel that they just built this fall. They had only had 3 services, I think, in there before we came. And David was telling me that the old chapel was really tiny, and there were like 1 million bodies in there, and it was hot, and it was underneath one of the girls' dorms. And so villagers wouldn't come to church there. Their culture is very modest, and it was seen as indecent for men to be in there underneath a girl's dorm. So it was a stumbling block, really, for people to come to church. So it's a really cool story how they came to build the chapel, but it's probably as big as this room.
Yeah, you'll see a picture of it in a minute, but it's really cool. It's awesome. That's a miracle building. I'll share that probably as an illustration another day. So, is there another picture under that one? Okay. So last year we went, and just like Amber had 2 girls that jumped on her, we had 2 boys that basically jumped on Rachel, and fortunately we adopted them. So here's kind of their stories.
The one in the yellow is Chansu Tong, and in the blue is Tong Kui. I shared their stories last year. They're both 14, and Chansu Tong is just, he's so sweet. He's not, Tong Kui this year kind of was in that I'm too cool. He rooms with the older boys, so he's like, I'm too cool for you, but I really want to be with you. So I'd get a hug from him, and then he'd run off somewhere and be with his cool friends. But Chansu Tong was still really sweet and loving, and he followed me everywhere I went, and he would lay his head on my shoulder, and they really bonded with David. But the really cool thing was that we got to take them to dinner with us one night, Sunday night, the first night. So we get them on the bus.
Go to the bus. Go ahead.
And they're like, they never, ever ride in vehicles, ever.
Now, this is vehicles, no trucks, nothing.
Never.
They don't travel in vehicles.
Because they're always at the orphanage. And they were like, yeah, they might get sick they might get car sick. And we're like, oh no. And even the other little kids, as we were waiting to leave, they were motioning to Tong Kui that he was going to throw up because it's like the thing. They all know they're going to get car sick. So it's an hour bus ride from the orphanage to the restaurant. And we let them play on our iPad and Kindle Fire. Not a good idea.
Looking down in the bumpy bus.
Not a good idea. Luckily, Tong Kui was sitting with David. He's the one who barfed. Chan Su Tong we opened up the window. He was just like, he kept making noises like, I was like, do not throw up on me. I do not do good with puke.
He gives the Kindle away and he goes, no.
And I had a plastic bag for him. You know, we're prepared to catch the puke. And so I handed it to him and he put it over his head.
He literally puts it over
and I
his
was like, no, you're going to suffocate. Don't do that. So we did get to the restaurant and they ate and they ate and they ate and they ate. And several people took their kids that they sponsor with them that night. And they all got sick on the bus. We got off the bus and they're all carrying vomit bags.
Like swishing around on the bus, yeah.
I don't know because they went back separate from us.
Yeah,
I'm sure because they all ate. And Brian, who's our leader, said after we left the room to get back on the bus, like the kids devoured what was left on the tables, even though they had like eaten so much. So I'm sure there was much vomiting on the way back to the orphanage too, but they weren't with us.
The neat thing about this is think of the most high-end restaurant that probably costs $100 a plate. That's their luxury, and those just a simple Chinese food that probably costs us $5 a person, and they literally they had a Coke, which was huge for them. It was just a very special time. So when you guys come, you guys should get to sponsor a kid and bring them with you and literally spend the evening with them, which is a neat experience. And so, all right, next one. Louis, we sponsor as Catalyst Church, our children's ministry sponsors a little kid named Louis. And this is Louis and Amber. Oh, yes, Ethan. Yes, actually, every time we at our house we have a a third Tuesday? Yeah, Thankful Tuesday, and Ethan's always thankful for Louis. Hold on, Madison. Oh, go ahead, real quick. It's $35 a month. For those boys, $70, but with Louis. So this is Louis. Amber wanted to share a little bit of story about Louis.
Yes, I was really excited about meeting Louis. Rachel was supposed to be with me, and she sort of got off onto another project that she did. But so I was looking all around the orphanage trying to find him. It was quite the chore with all these kids and trying to find somebody. You know, no one speaks a lot of English, so your interpreter and trying to find someone. So when I finally found him, he was so full of life, and I was very excited because my son was like, we knows every week when we come to church that we give money for Louis. We talk about it all the time. So he wanted to have pictures and see, you know, what he was like in person. So he experienced that through me. But he was so full of life and so happy to see us, and he knew that we sponsored the church, and as you can see, he's missing a tooth, I think, since our picture in the other one.
And go to the next one. So there's Louis, and what we ended up doing is it's a little bit noisy and not very good quality, but we actually shot a video with Louis with Rebecca, one of the orphanage leaders. So go ahead and play that video real quick.
Can you tell them your name? 저는 남해가 루탕피바레 로드마. 저는 남해가 루탕피바. How old are you? 아때 블라우 시브네. 아때 블라우 시비 서라고. 시비. 저너가 신디 피바비로. 저너가 신디 피바비. How old is he? 8 years. 8 years. What do you like to do for fun? Do you play soccer? Beiyane kasara gyosongle. Beka akasa. Wago bolongla. Beiyago watana parale. Daka.
The orphanage leader is literally the guy in the back. That's his orphanage leader.
polo. Does you know polo?
The soccer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Balo is soccer. Balo.
Do you go to school?
Trong cái là.
What's your favorite?
Okay.
Yeah. What's your favorite subject in school?
Be bata ko sewa sa song le.
English. Ah, very nice. So, how long have you lived at Wynn Orphanage?
Belau chia bile ui mani atata. Benenit ne bile. Nani tata ka bea lara le. Kampale. He is from Kampale, Northern Chin.
Chin is
And
understates.
2 years already in Wynn.
Yeah, we grabbed him right when he basically
So, how
came in.
can the children at Catalyst Church pray for you?
Ari children Catholic
Catalyst.
Catholic
Not a Burmese word.
ကလေးတွေကဘေးအရာကိုဆူတောင်းတတအတွက်ဆူတောင်းစေခြင်းတယ်လေဘေးအရာကိုဆူတောင်းစေခြင်းတယ်လေဘေးအတွက်လေဘာအတွက်တတကိုဆူတောင်းပေးto pass his grace.
All right, let's go to the
To do
next
good
one.
in school?
All right.
Yeah.
So that was Louis. The children's ministry will have it. What's that? Go
Real
ahead.
quick, if you remember Peter, who was here back in October, that was his wife, Rebecca. She's phenomenal. She loves the children and works so hard every single day. But one of the things that I didn't know until just a few months ago was that they had no money. They had a calling to start the orphanage and to take care of these orphans. They had no money. Both she and Peter sold their wedding rings so that they could have money to buy food for the children that they were caring for. So, I mean, that's just one of the small sacrifices that or big sacrifices really, that they have made them. But she is just a special.
And actually,
Awesome
we
woman.
just found out that Chin Poo and his wife just did the same thing. They wanted a big Christmas evangelism thing, so they actually sold their wedding rings. So that might be one thing that when we go back in 18 months, that we can bring them some wedding bands. That would be pretty cool for them. All right. So yes, Rebecca's awesome. All right. Child in prayer. This will bring tears to your eyes. So let's show you a picture. All right. Go ahead.
There's Peter. With that little girl's name is Lon Sandar Ong. One of the last, I'm trying to remember, I don't remember. I was talking to Sun watching some people play badminton, and here comes Lon Sandar Ong just running along, and Sun said, she's sick. She said, she doesn't look like it, but she's sick. And I was like, what do you mean she's sick? And she went on to tell me that she has a brain tumor. And the very next day, David and I were doing some counseling with Chimpu and his wife, and like the campus just went silent, which is really weird because there are 500 kids there and orphanage leaders and the whole team, and literally everyone disappeared. I was like, what
The rapture
is happening? So we got done with Chimpu and his wife and went back up to Peter's house, and Brian pulled David and me aside, and he said that this little girl had basically started seizing, and we had a doctor on our team. She's a pediatrician, and they tracked her down and brought her.
Yeah, she was like 15 minutes away.
Long story short, they took her to the hospital, which on a normal day is a 2-hour drive from the orphanage to the hospital. They made it in an hour and 15 minutes,
That's
only
a
by the grace of God. And Rachel, who was the doctor, said that they've seen children seize for 6 minutes and have permanent brain damage, or they choke, or all different things. She didn't choke at all, and she has no permanent brain damage or anything like that. She seized for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So that can only be attributed to God. The hard thing is that she has to have surgery, and it's like $10,000. And how do you come up with $10,000 when you have all of these children to care for? So I just pray. Pray for Peter and Rebecca, because she lives at their orphanage, as they have to make this decision, uncharted, because they're going to have to raise the money, and there are already so many pressing issues. But I mean, just a testament to God and His ability. You don't see the kind of miracles here that we saw there with that little girl. This is after the seizure. This picture was taken. She had been to the hospital and came back to the orphanage. Just that she's alive is amazing.
So the whole village basically got gathered. Did you go to the prayer time? It's a village. Yeah, the whole village, the whole orphanage, literally massive. About 400 people with us. Massive prayer time. Imagine that experience. Was that? We weren't there. How was that? Just prayer time.
It was incredible. Just the emotion and stuff that you got from everybody and how connected they were.
Yeah, it just shows the power of prayer. So we'll keep you updated with her. What is her name again?
Lan Sandar Ong.
Okay, what she just said. All right.
One thing about that, though,
let's see, next topic.
I was just going to say.
Amber, yes.
One thing about that, though, Rachel, the doctor that was with us, told us that the most horrifying event of it all was actually taking her to the hospital and having to leave her there because the conditions were just ridiculous.
She explained that I've been to third world countries, hospitals, and you don't want to go there. Literally, if you have a broken leg, you want to fly back to the United States and go through the pain for that. It's like the Vietnam hospital overseas during the Vietnam War. If you see those images.
Well, Al, one of the other men on the team that went to the hospital, said World War I clinic.
There you go, World War I clinic.
Is like what they saw at the hospital there.
It was terrible, terrible. So, all right, fruit, real quick on these. So, fruit. Who's that? Yes?
What's like the situation about these kids coming over here? Is that possible? It's not like...
Unfortunately not. It's a closed country. Or you'd have 2 Burmese here already, trust me. Yeah, it's called a closed country, and we're praying that it opens because we want to take our kids, and maybe you guys want to do, we want to take our kids and let them go through college here. So, yes, absolutely. Good question. So, fruit. Good. Here's pictures of fruit. And it sounds minute, fruit, but let them explain.
Okay, so the children don't get fruit very often. They only get them, I think, when we're there. They get them for every day that we're there.
They get rice, and more rice.
And some soup with something that looks like greens in it. I don't know what it is. It's actually good, but whatever it is, they get those every day. But so we gather, obviously all of us donate money for them to have fruit when they're here. And so they get it one time a day when they're, and you'll be like with your kids, and all of a sudden somebody will say something, and all the kids will be gone instantly.
Gone.
You're like, where'd everybody go? Or they're dragging you along with them, and it's because they know it's fruit line, and fruit time. They get in line, and they get to fruit, and they're so excited. They're excited, so thankful, thank you. That's all they say, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's just wonderful to see that.
They devour the fruit. Yeah. Anything to add with that? Yes, ma'am. That's a luxury. That is like how to explain.
They do grow it,
but not enough.
But it's not enough for all of the
They
kids.
grow it, but they try to sell it to get money for the orphanage. All the orphanages have different forms of agriculture that they do. So yes, they grow it, but for 400 kids, I mean, that's literally impossible. So when we go, we collect money as above and beyond. We collect money, and that money goes towards what's called the fruit fund.
For example, like the banana trees there will only harvest like 3 times, which isn't enough. You know, you can't have enough banana trees on their property is what they're saying to be able to feed their kids. Some of the smaller ones do that on occasion, but yeah, they raise all sorts of things, pigs, chickens, fish to sell to help feed them.
Absolutely.
Clothe them.
All right. Is that the last one there? Yes, Madison. English. They both.
They know. They've been around the Americans enough. They know. Most of them know.
Yes.
Thank you. Or
Jesu din bade.
Jesu Tempade.
All right, what's the next topic, real quick? All right, living conditions. Okay.
Penny had a question.
Penny.
Yes. Who's that?
Penny.
Yes. All right, go back a
That's
couple
Abigail's
slides.
daughter.
Abby Farmer.
Abby. Yep.
Yeah, Abby. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She was
Yeah.
one of our team.
Yeah, and
members.
hopefully in 18 months, if we can raise $13,000, my kids and us will go back. So.
She was the doctor's daughter.
Yeah.
Rachel, the doctor that came. Her and her husband both came and brought her daughter.
All right, so living conditions. Last year I was ignorant to the living conditions. So in most of the orphanages they have beds, just like you saw before with the teeny little mat. Our two boys, because we're like, hey, why don't you go show us your room? So they proudly did so. They took us all the way to the other side of the village, and come to find out the boys' dorms don't have beds. Until this last couple weeks, the team 2 that went built beds. So here is their living conditions. There's a video of Chan Su Tong that we went and saw his living conditions. So go and watch this real quick. Up there are their clothes, and Chan Su Tong doesn't even have a hook. So those are their clothes. They literally sleep on the floor on a mat. In a second, we're going to look at, this is everything he owns. Chan Su Tong is going to show us everything. This is literally everything he owns. This is in this one little box. And same thing goes to most of the other kids. That one box right there is everything he owns. And I gave him my Bible, and he was very happy about that. So that's all. Some of the notes that we've sent them.
What is this?
I don't even know what that was, but that's everything that they own. Literally everything that they find, they take and they put in there. That is their life. That's all they have. And here's my kid with 2,000 toys in his room, trying to clean it up. And where's my son? That's supposed to be a parenting tip right there. Okay. Okay. So let's. Okay. Yes, sir. You mean English versus Burmese? Yeah, most of it's sign language when we're talking to them. It's kind of like
But Chan Su Tong, he can read English. He doesn't speak it very well, but he opened up David's Bible and he was reading it in English. Yeah. So it depends on where they are in school. Some of them learn it in school. Some of them learn it. They do teach some at the orphanage. So it just depends.
Yeah. So when we're communicating with them, if there's a true conversation that we want to have, we try to get one of the interpreters and they interpret for us. But most of the time it's sign language and hugs. Lots of hugs, lots of hugs, lots of hugs.
You said about house living folks that way you don't have to age out of your orphanage, when they get too old and just what happens to the boys?
The boys either become orphanage, when they age out of orphanage, they can either go to Bible college or they go into the world, if you want to say.
Is that opportunity open to the girls or is that culture?
Yes, nope. We have plenty of girl Bible college students too. So after they graduate from Bible college, they get to choose to be a church planter, orphanage leader, or orphanage assistant, or of course, go out into the world. So I had a really cool experience talking to the college students. I had a free day, so college students, and they have the same concerns about money and future and God's will. It's just really cool to see. So yes, sir.
When you say go out in the world, they're not leaving.
No. Just they go out into the workplace. Just any workplace whatsoever. They're allowed to come back, but they start their own life, if you want to say. No, they can't leave the country. No. So, and that's the scary thing. Well, they can leave the country, but they can't come to the United States. I mean, they can go to India and to Vietnam and stuff like that.
Well, if they have money, they can.
Yeah.
There are some of the kids who've gone through the Bible college who have actually come to the States and gotten degrees, and then they go back. But yes,
they're adults. Exactly, adults.
Yeah.
So, all right, CP-wise, this is Rachel's favorite thing.
So this year was different for me in that a couple days I wasn't with the VBS team. One of the days I was with the worship band for the worship concert, and then the other day, which was my absolute favorite day, I got to be with the church planners' wives. And Donna is the lady in the pink. She was also one of the teachers for them, and we talked a lot about their spiritual gifts, discovering their spiritual gifts, and putting that into practice in their ministries with their husbands. And then for those of you ladies that were at our conference, we taught them the same My Journey Bible study method, so we were able to share that with them. And then we gave them the gifts that we had collected, which was awesome because they're so stoic. They rarely smile. They're like me. They have hostile resting faces. And
like that,
so,
yes.
you know, it's like you don't really know what's going on inside. But as soon as we broke out those boxes, they were like, their faces lit up. They were smiling. And I told Donna, it's just proof that a woman is a woman no matter where you are. America, Myanmar, give them some smelly lotion and some lip gloss and they're like ecstatic. So it was just really neat to watch them and learning what different things were. Some of the stuff we took were like for their feet, and we were putting it on them because they didn't know what to do with it, and they were trading each other in their boxes. But they opened up this year quite a bit more than they did last year. It was a real conviction for me because I'm so easy to grow complacent or apathetic or just tired of ministry. I'm just being real honest. And to hear their stories and what they have to go through and how they have so little, and yet they talk about how they open up their homes and they have the church. A lot of them have just tiny little churches, but they invite their whole church into their home and feed them, even though they can barely feed their families. And they persevere in the face of really hard times. You know, we've found in the food pantry here that we get taken advantage of quite a bit, and they experience the same things. People come to their churches and they get saved, and then or whether they're saved or not, they know that they're believers, and so they expect them to help them if they fall on hard times, and then, you know, they're like, we can't afford to help everybody, and so then they get angry at them, and having to deal with those kinds of things. And I just really felt God speaking to me. They can persevere through those things, true trials, true difficult things. Then I can persevere here in what God has called us to do here.
And they go through the same trials of family, and just because they're overseas and just because they don't have anything, they're just. And you'll see something really cool. The church planner wives praying in a couple minutes.
The girl she's got a purple jacket and an orange shirt on. She's new this year. She and her husband just got married. I remember last year her husband was single, and we come back and he has a wife. And this is one of those times where I really wish I could speak Burmese, because every time it would come to her, I don't know what they were saying to her, but her face would turn bright red, and they would all laugh, and I'm sure it was probably they were giving her a hard time because she's a newlywed, but it was funny to watch that. But one of the prayer requests, we asked them all for prayer requests. Every single one of them asked for good health. And I'm like, really? I mean, you can't come up with anything more than good health? But after Rachel went to the hospital with Lon Sandarang, I realized, like, that's a real issue for them.
Absolutely.
Because their health care is so bad. And So good health, prayers for good health is a real thing for them. So if you could pray for anything for these women and their families, is for good health for all of them.
Along that line is we have a doctor there and a team of 2 or 3 nurses that had a separate room, and they were doing exams, physical exams on the orphan kids, and it's just normal that they did that. So I asked, hey, can we bring our church planter wives to give them exams? And so they squeezed them in, and our church planter and the church planter wives were so excited about getting a physical that they would line up, they would bring their children, and they just can't go to the ER. They just can't go. I mean, the nearest hospital for some of them is like 4 hours away. So it was really cool. And I think, was it her? No, it was another lady, did an exam, and she had a growth in her...
It was the one in the pink shirt.
The pink shirt, yeah. Had a growth in her abdomen or something like that, and she had to go right away to the hospital. So it's just cool things like that we had opportunity to instrument health, spiritual health, and so on and so forth. Ronnie. Easy answer to that, because it happens so often. Supernatural healings happen so often, and just one story is one of the church planter. Do you want to tell that story about church planter, the kid? Long story short, we found out that one of the church planter kids, like 8, 9 years old, had basically the gift of healing. Mom was really sick, literally on her deathbed, and this kid, 8, 9 years old, just comes into the room, lays basically his body or her body on top of mom, prayed for healing. Next day, the mom was fine. So those type of things, like Rachel said, happen so much more over there because they have faith, because they have nothing, because they have to rely on prayer. They have to rely on faith compared to us where we rely on ourselves. Well,
and that's what I was telling David. One of the things that really moved me was we really don't have to have faith here. I mean, really, we don't. If we have an issue, we can pretty much figure it out. We get sick, we go to the doctor, we put our faith in the doctor to make us better. They don't have that. They have to have faith. And I almost feel like we're the ones at a disadvantage because they see God work in ways that would just blow our minds. It does blow our minds because we get so entrapped in our technology and all of those things rather than putting all of our faith in God. I think if we put all of our faith in God, we would see him move in ways that they see him move all the time.
Yeah, so easy answer with that. It happens. So let's keep going. And did you have something, Angie? Okay, let's keep going due to time. Okay, this is Sun Sun. You met Sun Sun. She came in here and she mentioned that she lives... she has all the girls, and Amber will share this, have all the girls that live in the house, and then her husband and her wife, Sun Sun, they sleep in the stairwell. And this is, go ahead, while you watch this, go ahead, Amber, go ahead and share.
Yeah, I mean, obviously she told us our story. I got to hear it a couple of times since we did things outside with Uncharted. But this is their home right here, this little, like sort of shack sort of thing, This is this little area right here they're showing that they actually sleep in. Where she said she slept in front of the door, there really isn't a door.
The stairs go right down to
right there where the rug is?
Your area right down to the right. That's the stairwell.
I mean, this is their windowed area, which has no windows. This is an open space where they sleep, where the kids can't exit. That's the last room in their, the spot in their building where they sleep. And there's nothing in there. There's holes in the floor. It's like, made out of bamboo. It's really not... It's just something that we would never picture ourselves living in. And you can imagine she lives here with all these kids, and this is their environment that they have.
So with that being said, go to the next slide. Something really cool happened. And Rachel, you want to give the preface to this real quick, and then we'll show what the reaction.
When Sun Sun was in the States, she told us, and she told all of the churches that she went to, that they really need brick buildings. Their orphanage is not registered with the Myanmar government. So that means that at any time the government could come in and shut them down, and then all of those kids would be homeless. So they really need 2 brick dorms, and they need a dining hall to be able to register with the government. And so after she left, some churches here in the area, I know Bethel Temple was one of them, and a few others, took up collections and raised $25,000 to build their first dorm. So we got to be there when Brian told her that they were going to be able to build a dorm. So we have video.
So we'll watch the video, but after you watch Sun, you'll listen closely. This is the grandmother. She's amazing. Just watch this. This is us telling. She did not know until this moment. So going to watch this. So Brian's speaking in the background. Now listen to Grandma. So it was pretty cool, because what ends up happening from here is they'll build the dorm. The girls will move into the dorm so that Sun can have her can have her bedroom back, basically. So it's just pretty cool and moving forward towards that. So guys, when I ask, I know it's just a small group of us, but when I ask that we need to collect up an offering for a task, literally it makes the world of difference. And I don't want just Bethel Temple or One Life and all those big churches to get the godly credit. I want us to be able to get the blessing for doing that too. So, all right, so that was pretty cool. Next one. Okay. The cool thing about Catalyst Church, we worship. We sing, we worship, but nothing, absolutely nothing compared to the Burmese. There's 3 different things. There's a worship service, a prayer experience, and something that happened at the lake. So this is their worship center that they just built, and it's not done yet, but go and watch this. This is their worship. Those are the church planners on your left-hand side. That's Ruth in yellow. She's getting jiggy with it. She's awesome. The kids are all the way up front. About 150 kids are sitting down front.
And on that note, all the way out where David's standing is like outside. People are standing or in chairs outside too, because they all don't fit in the building.
Absolutely. It's really cool what God's doing there. It really is. Okay, so just pause that for a second, Nate. Just pause it. What ends up happening, so those are the worship services.